As they return back from being on break, they make their way back past the first staircase leading to the one library, back into the Hall of Genealogical Records library. And as they both see themselves, she then introduces William to the First Blackfyre Rebellion. All right, William, this is going to be the second civil war that is much like that of the Dance of the Dragons Civil War. But in this one, it is like a rebellion because it doesn't just end with one war. It continues for at least several, um, generations. There'll be about a total of 4 of them, though short, but is considered the same as one continuous war. I see. Well, so I take it this is where Daemon I Blackfyre, a Targaryen, one of the bastard children, felt he had the right to the Iron Throne. Yes. And this very first battle was the hardest one of all because it was a war against Daemon I Blackfyre himself that former King Aegon IV had knighted as heir to the throne, though he be a bastard from many mistresses, but more particularly from Daena Targaryen, daughter of former King Aegon III. I see. So what happens on the other Blackfyre rebellions? Well, they weren't as hard or long as this one. They were a little bit shorter, but it was the time period in between each one that caused it to be like that of a war. But it just didn't happen on a long, continuous line like the Dance of the Dragons. Oh, okay, I understand. All right, well, I'm ready to begin then. So with that, then, she hands him the scroll, and he continues reading on to learn of the very first, biggest Blackfyre Rebellion, number 1. Daemon II Targaryen. First Blackfyre Rebellion. The first Blackfyre Rebellion broke out in 195 AC and engulfed most of Westeros. That had been years in the making. Some lords, especially Marcher lords, still hated the Dornishmen as King Aegon IV Targaryen had, and the peaceful Daeron was disliked for his ties with House Martell. Some nobles instead looked to Daemon Blackfyre, a great bastard, who had been granted Blackfyre, one of the Valyrian steel swords of House Targaryen, by Aegon for his martial skill. Daemon and Prince Daenerys had loved each other, but Daeron had his sister instead wed Meryn Martell to bring Dorne into the realm. Daemon's half-brother and fellow great bastard Aegor Rivers, known as Bittersteal, motivated Daemon to finally make his claim. With the late King Aegon's rumors of Daeron's parentage in mind, some rebels, such as Sir Eustace Osgrey, saw Daemon as false-born and a usurper of the Iron Throne. The Blackfyre Rebellion broke out with battles in the Riverlands, Reach, Vale of Arryn, and Westerlands between those who supported the Blackfyre, the Black Dragon, and those who supported the Red Dragon. Daeron was supported by another great bastard, Brynden Rivers, who was known as Bloodraven. The rebellion ended at the Battle of the Redgrass Field in 196 AC with the death of Daemon and his 2 eldest sons, Aegon and Aemon. Bittersteal escaped and fled across the narrow sea, with Daemon's surviving sons. The Blackfyre pretenders continued to trouble the Seven Kingdoms for generations to come. Baelor Targaryen, son of Daemon II. When the First Blackfyre Rebellion was in its early stages, Prince Baelor advocated leniency toward Daemon Blackfyre, a position that was not favored over his uncle Bloodraven's hard line. Nonetheless, Baelor accepted the path towards war. He distinguished himself by leading the Dornish and Stormland force, which attacked the rear guard of the rebel army during the Battle of the Red Grass Field in 196 AC. Baelor's forces smashed the rebels against the shield wall of his brother Prince Maegor, inspiring the song The Hammer and Anvil. After the battle, Baelor was named Hand of the King by his father and was recognized as a good hand and the soul of chivalry, quote unquote. At some point, he was also given the title of Protector of the Realm. Brynden Rivers, also known as Bloodraven. First Blackfyre Rebellion. A strong warrior, Brynden called the Valyrian steel sword Dark Sister, but preferred to use his weirwood longbow and was an expert archer. Brynden served on the small council of his half-brother Daemon II Targaryen. During the First Blackfyre Rebellion, Brynden remained loyal to King Daemon and commanded a group of long bowmen called the Raven's Teeth. At the Battle of the Red Grass Field, he lost an eye fighting his half-brother Bittersteal. The Raven's Teeth ultimately gained the Weeping Ridge and rained arrows down onto Daemon Blackfyre from 300 yards away, killing Daemon and his twin sons. For this, people would name Brynden a kinslayer. After the war, he advocated a hard line against the rebels, winning out over Prince Baelor's call for leniency. Meanwhile, over in Essos, we have Bellinora Otherys, daughter of Belliger Otherys. Bellinora Otherys was the eldest of three bastard children of King Aegon IV Targaryen and his fourth mistress, Belliger Otherys. She had her first daughter, and that daughter would then carry on the line of the Black Pearl. Daena Targaryen, daughter of Aegon III, formerly. Daena, after having had 4 children with Ronald Penrose, had come across a long-lost love. Now, in the reign of King Daemon II, Daena married her second husband, Ronald Penrose. He sat on the king's small council as master of coin, but it was widely known that Daena was the one performing the duties, as she showed was shrewd and intelligent with money, while Ronald did not have a great facility for numbers. But King Daemon trusted her with many important matters of state, and she grew influential. Daena birthed Ronald 4 children: Robin, Lena, Jocelyn, and Joy Penrose. After the birth of her 7th child, Daena declared that if 7 was sufficient for the gods, it would do for her as well. Not long after Ronald's death, however, just before she married once more, again, a long lost love came about, and there would be some new bastard children born as a result. In which case, then, this was short lived, however, because she did have intention of marrying this one. And apparently, he was somewhat of an explorer, too. Alan Valerian, which was formerly Adam's brother during the First Great War, known as Dance of the Dragons. She waited as long as she could, but when he did never return, she then decided to marry again. Daemon I Blackfyre of the House of Targaryen. First Blackfyre Rebellion. There was no final insult that resulted in the declaration of Daemon's claim. There are some who say that it was the wedding of Princess Daenerys to the Dornish prince Meryn Martell that led to the First Blackfyre Rebellion. It was said that Daemon rebelled because she had been denied to him by Daeron. However, while Daenerys' wedding took place in 187 AC, Daemon rebelled only 8 years. In 196 AC, Daemon began his rebellion, which would last nigh on a year. For his sigil, Daemon took the Targaryen sigil with the colors reversed, a black dragon on red, giving him the nickname the Black Dragon, with Daeron being referred to as the Red Dragon. Daemon's decision to claim the throne had been made rashly, and word soon reached Daeron's court that Daemon meant to declare within a month. It has been suggested by Archmaester Marion that Brynden Rivers, another one of Aegon IV's bastard sons, was involved in the news reaching Daeron. The King's Guard was sent to arrest Daemon, but with the aid of the Master-at-Arms of Red Keep, Daemon managed to escape imprisonment. Daemon's allies used this attempt to arrest as a cause for war, claiming that Daeron had acted without reason. Besides Aegor Rivers and Quentin Ball, Daemon's supporters, according to Sir Eustace Osprey of Stamfast, included Robb Rain, Gareth the Grey, Sir Aubrey Ambrose, Lord Gorman Peake, Black Byron Flowers, and Red Tusk. Daemon's rebellion divided the Seven Kingdoms. Half the realm declared for him, though not all were eager to pledge their full support. Notably, Houses Hightower, Butterwell, Oakhart, and Tarbeck gave support to both Daemon and Daeron, while others, as an example, Manfred Lawston, were willing to betray Daemon for Darren. The thief Quickfinger attempted to steal dragon eggs for Daemon, but was caught. Daemon's rebellion ended on the Redgrass Field in late 196 AC. According to Sir Eustace Osgrey, who fought on Daemon's side, Daemon fought like the warrior himself, quote unquote. Daemon shattered the lines of Lord Donald Arryn's vanguard, leaving the Loyalists in peril until Sir Gawain Corbray of the King's Guard arrived with reinforcements. Daemon and Sir Gawain dueled, with both men using their Valyrian steel swords. The duel is said to have lasted nearly an hour before Daemon gained the upper hand. Corbray was wounded, and Daemon dismounted to prevent Corbray from being trampled. He commanded that Corbray was taken off the field. In the meantime, Brynden Rivers, with his archers, the Raven's Teeth, had captured and assumed a position atop the Weeping Ridge, which overlooked the battlefield and allowed them to rain arrows down among Daemon and his commanders. Daemon's heir, Aegon, died first, followed by Daemon himself. When Daemon's second son, Aegon's twin brother Aemon, took up Blackfyre, he was slain as well. In legacy, with Daemon dead, the rebels began to rout. Aegor Rivers claimed Blackfyre and rallied the rebels by leading a charge against the Raven's Teeth, but was eventually forced to flee. He took Daemon's widow and remaining children with him to the Free Cities, eventually ending up in Tyrosh. In exile, Daemon's descendants continued their struggle for the Iron Throne, resulting in 4 more rebellions: Second, Third, and Fourth Blackfyre Rebellion, and the War of the Ninepenny Kings, as well as one peaceful attempt during the Great Council of 233 AC. These attempts led to the arrest of Daemon's second son, Daemon, and the deaths of his third and fifth sons, Hagon and Aenys, as well as the death of the grandson, also named Daemon. Daemon's last male descendant, Marries, was slain during the War of the Ninepenny Kings by Sir Barristan Selmy, ending the Blackfyre threat after 64 years. Quotes about Daemon. The first and greatest of the Blackfyre pretenders was the natural son of Daena Targaryen, sister, betrothed, and, briefly, wife to King Baelor the Blessed, by George R.R. Martin. Daemon was the name Daena gave to this child, for Prince Daemon had been the wonder and terror of his age, and in later days that was seen as a warning of what the boy would become, by Yandel. The rightful king, Daemon Blackfyre, the king who bore the sword, by Eustace Osgrey to Duncan the Tall. Traitors have always paid with their lives, by Stannis Baratheon to Davos Seaworth. Daemon Blackfyre loved the first Daenerys and rose in rebellion when denied her, by Barristan Selmy's thoughts. Daemon Blackfyre was a rebel and usurper, by Stannis Baratheon to Justin Massey. Daemon the First Blackfyre Targaryen had names and titles. His alias was Daemon Waters, the Black Dragon, the king who bore the sword, the Pretender. Title was Sir, King of the Andals, the Rhoynar and the First Men, claimant, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, claimant, Protector of the Realm, claimant. His allegiance was for the new house Blackfyre. His race was Valyrian, and the culture came from the Crown Lands. Born in 170 AC at King's Landing and died in 196 AC at Redgrass Field. His spouse was Rohan of Tyrosh, and his personal arms, again, was a black three-headed dragon on red. The next then we have is Aegon, first son of Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen. Aegon Blackfyre was the eldest son of Daemon Blackfyre and the twin of Aemon Blackfyre. Aegon was Daemon's heir and squired for his father. In history, Aegon was the eldest of the children of Daemon I Blackfyre. He had a twin brother, Aemon, and 5 younger brothers, Daemon, Hagan, Aenys, and 2 whose names are currently unknown. He also had at least 2 sisters. The twins liked to bully their younger brother, Daemon, and Daemon's friend, Alan Cockshaw. Daemon once had a prophetic dream about the deaths of Aegon and Aemon, but the disbelieving twins only laughed at their brother. Aegon was later killed during the Battle of the Redgrass Field by Brynden Rivers' arrows. Aemon and the twins' father, Daemon I Blackfyre, died shortly after as well. Quotes about Aegon. The raven's teeth had gained the top of Weeping Ridge, and Bloodraven saw his half-brother's royal standard 300 yards away, and Daemon and his sons beneath him. He slew Aegon first, the elder of the twins, for he knew that Daemon would never leave the boy whilst warmth lingered in his body, though white shafts fell like rain. Eustace Osprey to Duncan the Tall. Aegon and Aemon, wretched, witless bullies, just like you. When we were little, they took pleasure in tormenting me and Daemon both, like Alan Cockshaw to Duncan the Tall. I dreamed it, this pale white casket, you, a dragon bursting from an egg. I dreamed it all, just as I once dreamed of my brothers lying dead. They were 12, and I was only 7, so they laughed at me and died. I am 22 now, and I trust my dreams. Daemon II Blackfyre to Duncan the Tall. Aemon Blackfyre. Aemon Blackfyre was the second son of Daemon Blackfyre. He was Aegon Blackfyre's twin brother, the younger of the 2. He squired for his father. In history, Aemon was the second born of the children of Daemon Blackfyre. He had an older twin brother, Aegon, and 5 younger brothers, Daemon, Hagan, Aenys, Blackfyre, and 2 whose names are currently unknown. He also had at least 2 sisters. The twins liked to bully their younger brother Daemon and Daemon's friend, Alan Cockshaw. Daemon once had a prophetic dream about the deaths of Aemon and Aegon, but the disbelieving twins only laughed at their brother. Aemon was later killed during the Battle of the Redgrass Field by Bloodraven's arrows when he tried to take up the sword Blackfyre after Aegon and their father, Daemon I Blackfyre, had died. Quotes about Aemon. Young Aemon took up Blackfyre when the blade slipped from his dying father's fingers, so Bloodraven slew him, too, the younger of the twins. Thus perished the Black Dragon and his sons. by Eustace Osprey to Duncan the Tall. Aegon and Aemon, wretched, witless bullies just like you. When we were little, they took pleasure in tormenting me and Daemon both, by Alan Cockshaw to Duncan the Tall. I dreamed it, this pale white castle, you, a dragon bursting from an egg. I dreamed it all, just as I once dreamed of my brothers lying dead. They were 12 and I was only 7, so they laughed at me and died. I am 22 now, and I trust my dreams. Daemon II Blackfyre to Duncan the Tall. Daemon II Blackfyre. Daemon II Blackfyre, also known as Daemon the Younger, was the third son of Daemon I Blackfyre. He used the alias John the Fiddler, a hedge knight, while traveling incognito through the Seven Kingdoms. He led the brief Second Blackfyre Rebellion. Character and appearance. When meeting him under the alias of Sir John the Fiddler, Sir Duncan the Tall thought of Daemon II as a young man, lean and lithe, with a calmly clean-shaven face and fine features, quote unquote. He had collar-length black hair and eyes that caught the deep blue of his doublet. Dunk noted he had egg eyes, quote unquote. After revealing himself as the son of Daemon I Blackfyre, Daemon Younger washed the black dye from his hair to reveal its silver gold color. Daemon had a love of music and fine things. He had a close relationship with Lord Alan Cockshaw. George R.R. Martin has confirmed that Daemon was homosexual. Daemon had prophetic dreams. He correctly dreamed that his brothers, Aegon and Aemon, would die, and that Dunk would become a knight of the King's Guard. He also dreamed that a dragon would hatch from an egg at White Walls, but this turned out to be a metaphor. In history for the early life, Daemon was born in Westeros, third son of Daemon I Blackfyre and Rohan of Tyrosh. As a child, he became close friends with Alan Cockshaw, and they were bullied by Daemon's older brothers, Aegon and Aemon. In 196 AC, when he was 7 years old, his father began the First Blackfyre Rebellion. After the death of his father and his older brothers at the Battle of the Red Grass Field, Daemon went into exile in Tyrosh with his surviving family and with Aegor Rivers. Aegon I Blackfyre. Aegon I Blackfyre was the fourth son of Daemon I Blackfyre. He was the heir to his older brother, Daemon II Blackfyre. In history, after the Battle of the Red Grass Field and the failure of the First Blackfyre Rebellion, Aegon was taken to Tyrosh by his uncle Bittersteal. In exile, he had at least 2 sons, the eldest of which he named Daemon. In 219 AC, Aegon launched the Third Blackfyre Rebellion, which ended in failure. He was slain treacherously after he gave up his sword. Also, most notably, he did marry someone from Tyrosh. So, which case then, while it says sons on the Blackfyre genealogical record here, this would mean that he must have had at least 3 sons. For those 2 sons, the protection of Aegon's wife, their names are never documented. Aenys Blackfyre. Aenys Blackfyre was the 5th son of Daemon I Blackfyre and Rohan of Tyrosh. In history, after the death of King Aegon I Targaryen in 233 AC, there was no definitive heir to ascend the Iron Throne. In the hand of the king, Lord Brynden Bloodraven Rivers, called the Great Council, Aenys put forth his claim to the throne by running from exile. Bloodraven offered him safe conduct to King's Landing, so Aenys could present his claim in person. Aenys accepted this proposal, but as soon as he entered the capital, he was seized by the Gold Cloaks and dragged to the Red Keep, where he was executed. His head was presented to the lords of the Great Council as a warning to any who might still have Blackfyre sympathies. After King Aegon V Targaryen was crowned king, he had Bloodraven arrested for the murder of Aenys, as Brynden had broken the word of the Iron Throne with the act. Brynden was sentenced to death, but later sent to the Wall instead, to live out the remainder of his life as a brother of the Night's Watch. Now, there's two sons whose identity were protected and never mentioned. The sixth son of Daemon. He wore gold armor, in theory, had short hair, and a clean, well-trimmed beard and mustache. He was quite the warrior. He had a golden, round shield, and quite the sword of gold handle grip. But after the fall of Daemon I Targaryen, he, along with Aegor Rivers, Kayla, his wife, and the widow of Daemon I Targaryen, fled to Tyrosh. Next was a second son of Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen. His hair was a little bit somewhat long and somewhat wavy. He wore a special type of armor, not as sparkling as the gold armor of his other brother, the sixth son of Daemon I Targaryen, but it was overlaid by chainmail. He not only had his sword that he had well been trained on, but was also very well versed in using the short sword dagger. After the fall of Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen, he and the brother, sixth son of Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen, along with Aegor Rivers and his wife Kayla, and the widow of Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen, fled to Tyrosh, and his identity has been protected. Then there is the daughters. Now, since they are protected by name, so they are not discovered as survivors, because it was written as such as daughters, it can only be theorized that there were two daughters. The first daughter had black hair and always liked to wear two tones of red, with a scarf pulled somewhat up over her head and trimmed in dragon design from the breast area to where the dress had overlaid an underlying brighter red sheen of the dress. She wore armlets of gold. When Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen fell in battle, Aegor Rivers, along with his wife Kayla, took Daemon I Targaryen's widow, Rohan, the two brothers, sons number 6 and number 7, along with this daughter, the first daughter, whose identity is protected, and fled to Tyrosh. The next daughter, who is not known and whose identity has been protected, is also the daughter of Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen and Rohan. Her hair was a dark brown, very long, very wavy and curly. She had the distinctive eyebrows and was somewhat on a haughty type attitude. And unless once she knew you, you could expect her tongue to be sharper than that of a sword. And in any case, her dress attire usually involved black and red. When Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen fell in battle, Aegor Rivers and his wife Kayla, along with Daemon I Blackfyre Targaryen's widow Rohan, took her brother number 6 and 7 and her sister, whose identities are protected, and fled to Tyrosh. And nothing had ever been heard of whether they had got married, had children, or lived out the rest of their days from this point on. Kayla Blackfyre. Kayla Blackfyre was the daughter of Daemon I Blackfyre and Rohan of Tyrosh. In history, prior to the First Blackfyre Rebellion, Daemon agreed to wed his daughter Kayla to her half-uncle Aegor Rivers. Aegor Rivers. Sir Aegor Rivers, previously called Bittersteal, was one of the great bastards and a son of King Aegon IV Targaryen by his fifth mistress, Lady Barbara Bracken. Aegor was the founder of a famed group of exiled sellswords, the Golden Company. In his personal arms, he combined the red stallion of House Bracken with black dragon wings from House Blackfyre on a golden field. Appearance and character. Being half Targaryen, Aegor had purple eyes, but black hair. As an adult, he had a close-cropped beard. He looked like a warrior, being lean, white, and tall. Aegor's armor was well made, though plain-looking, being gray steel and black rings. On his helm was a horse head with a horse's mane flowing behind. His shield displayed his personal sigil, a stallion with black dragon wings on a golden field, snorting fire. Aegor was angry all of his life, and quickly irritated and offended. He did not smile, and especially loathed his younger half-brother, Brynden Rivers, and Brendan's mother, Melissa Blackwood, who had replaced Aegor's mother, Barbara Bracken, as King Aegon IV Targaryen's mistress. In history, for his early life, Aegor was born at King's Landing to one of King Aegon IV Targaryen's mistresses, Barbara Bracken. When Queen Nerys Targaryen recovered her health, Prince Daeron and Aemon of Dragonite forced Aegon to send Barbara and child from the capital, and Aegor was instead raised at Stonehenge in the Riverlands. The angry Aegor reserved particular loathing for his half-brother Brynden Rivers, whose mother, Melissa Blackwood, had replaced his own as their father's favorite mistress. Aegor loathed Brynden, who was known as Bloodraven, even further when Shiera Seastar, their beautiful half-sister, and a fellow great bastard, chose Brynden over him. Their other half-brother, Daemon Blackfyre, agreed to wed his daughter Kayla to Aegor. Aegor often urged Daemon to press his own claim to the Iron Throne. First Blackfyre Rebellion. In the First Blackfyre Rebellion in 196 AC, Aegor sided with Daemon Blackfyre against King Daeron II Targaryen. During the Battle of the Red Grass Field, Aegor commanded the right of Daemon's host. To prevent a rout upon Daemon's death during the battle, Aegor rallied his troops and charged into the Raven's Teeth, the archers of Brynden Rivers. Although Aegor took out Bloodraven's eye during their duel, he ultimately fled the battlefield, carrying the Valyrian steel sword Blackfyre. Aegor fled Westeros, and Daemon's widow, Rohan of Tyrosh, and her surviving children eventually settling in the free cities of Tyrosh. Rohan of Tyrosh. Rohan of Tyrosh was the wife of Daemon I Blackfyre, the mother of all his children. The marriage was arranged by King Aegon IV Targaryen and the Archon of Tyrosh. King Aegon died before the marriage could occur, so it was his successor, Daemon's half-brother, King Daemon II Targaryen, who paid the dowry and arranged the actual wedding. In history, Daemon Blackfyre was only 4 and 10 when he married Rohan in 184 AC. Their firstborn children, the twins Aegon and Aemon, were born the same year. In total, Rohan would birth 7 sons for Daemon and at least 2 daughters. After the First Blackfyre Rebellion ended, Rohan and her remaining children fled to Tyrosh along with Aegor Rivers, where they remained 3 years after. In 211 AC, when Daemon II Blackfyre was captured at White Walls by the Crown, after the aborted Second Blackfyre Rebellion, Brynden Rivers noted if he executed him, his mother would mourn. And now for the First Blackfyre Rebellion. Where are you, Daemon? I'm right here at the rightful heir to Iron Throne. Draw your sword, Tom. What's wrong? If you don't, I will. How can you believe you are giving yourself over to the Blackfyre? Your father beat this plan. My father has nothing to do with it. I'm the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. I want far more than that. I want to rule the Roman kingdom. Bring chaos to the world. I love to hear screams, and yours will be next. First Blow starts killing off 2 or 3 soldiers of Daemon's army. Your quest has nothing. You're a bastard. You can't have the Iron Throne. I was knighted and made the heir to the Iron Throne. How dare you speak to me in this manner? I shall have the Iron Throne. I am the rightful one to rule the realm of kingdoms. You will kneel to me. I will not kneel to you. So, let us end this once and for all. Daemon II. And what about you, Daemon? Relying on miracles, thinking that you're the rightful one? Of course I am. Aegon IV nominated me. I've been knighted. Well, I'm trying to do it well as a kingdom. You're never stand down. Damn. Just as it looked like Daemon I Targaryen was over. You improved Daemon II. Where are you, Daemon I? Don't be running and hiding like a coward. Come out, wherever you are. I'm right here, Daemon II. Let's have this out. I, the Black Dragon, prepared to die. Well, got your friends. So do I. Come out, my loyal servants. Now you shall feel the death of my swing. First blow has no effect. Second blow. Little damage. Second starts to wear down just a little bit of Daemon first, but not quite enough. Daemon I unleashes the power of the Black Dragon. One of the gold knights of Daemon I got killed. A successful hit by Aegor Rivers. Another hit on Daemon's forces, killing 5 more. Minor damage to his shield. Lady Warrior just gets killed by one of Daemon's forces. Again, the Black Dragon unleashed. More of Daemon's first Targaryen's forces start dying off by 5 and 10s. A successful hit by Aegor Rivers. Some of the Blood Raven got killed, but now for the final cut. Blood Raven makes a hit. Damn, how can this be? They're just a bunch of dumb Targaryens. I'm Daemon Blackfyre, the Black Dragon. And somehow this won't be over because there will be a second rebellion. Oh no, somebody's been taken. As you just heard, this was the dramatic scene of what could be the battle of Daemon First Blackfyre, using a little bit of Final Fantasy tactics as a helping visualization of the great battle. While people think he might be a pushover, he actually is not. He was one of the toughest people to fight, but he was defeated in the end, along with one of his 2 sons and the second one for trying to pick up his sword. So, hopefully you like that dramatic situation. As palace historian, everything has been written down in descriptive detail. It was quite the battle for the First Blackfyre Rebellion. Now, as a side note, for the House of Targaryen's genealogical records, you'd think that Bloodraven, Brynden, would have thought about this before taking action. But I guess he got a little bit too caught up in the victory because he decided to go a step further. And as we already covered, um, he decided that since he saw Aemon Targaryen, after his father had been slain and fallen in a battle that lasted for near an hour, that he would have waited to see what Aemon was going to do. And seeing Aemon picking up the prize, the Blackfyre sword, which by rights would have been now the House of Targaryen's prize, because Daemon was defeated, he decided to slay the younger of the twin brothers, Aemon. So in which case then, seeing this, Aegor Rivers continued to do his outflanking behind the lines of the House of Targaryen. And so, as he makes his way forward, very few of the Golden Company get hit, and they slay their way through to where Bloodraven's at, killing quite a few Raven White Teeth bowmen, as it would be, in theory, by conjecture and nothing proven, Bloodraven wasn't paying attention. So as he was soaking in, taking out the younger son, twin of Daemon the First Blackfyre, he turned around just in time to catch the point of Aegor Rivers' sword to his face with a sudden thrust, bringing Bloodraven to his knees. And then as Aegor Rivers pulled his sword back, the eyeball stuck at the end of the sword, and blood all over the sword, and blood gushing out from the face of Bloodraven all over the ground. He could have easily chopped his head off, and thus would have been the end of Bloodraven. But Aegor Rivers is also not stupid, seeing how there's still quite a few ravens out there, bowmen. He didn't want to risk, even if he could kill 2/3 of them off, sacrificing himself and all the Golden Company, as the final 1/3 would have finished him off. So with that, he retreats, and as he is riding somewhat in a way where he feels victorious because he got his way, the other men standing ready to charge watch as he flees the battlefield. And his last act of being a warrior, he grabs up Blackfyre's sword and leaves the battlefield with it. For as the old saying goes, he who holds the sword shall reign again. Unfortunately, this will pan out, and it will be held true that since they have Blackfyre, which is now the new morale, there will be a second Blackfyre Rebellion. So not a matter of if there will be, but when. And so the battle finally concluded at this point in time. Blackfyre Pretenders. The Blackfyre Pretenders were a series of claimants to the Iron Throne in the Seven Kingdoms, flying the banner of House Blackfyre in several Blackfyre rebellions. The Blackfyres opposed the reign of House Targaryen from the reign of King Daemon II until they were extinguished in the male line during the reign of King Jaehaerys II. The Rebellions. First Blackfyre Rebellion. In 196 AC, Daemon Blackfyre, the bastard son of the late King Aegon IV Targaryen and his cousin Princess Daena Targaryen attempted to usurp the throne from King Daemon II Targaryen, the legitimate son of King Aegon IV Targaryen and his sister queen marries. This caused the second major civil war in the history of the Targaryen reign. The war lasted nigh on a year. Battles were fought in the Reach, the Westerlands, the Riverlands, and more places. During the final battle of the war, the Battle of the Red Grass Field, Daemon's two eldest sons, Aegon and Aemon, were killed, and his allies defeated. However, 5 of Daemon's sons and several daughters survived and were carried into exile to the free cities by Aegor Rivers, known as Bittersteal, Daemon's half-brother, who had been one of Daemon's biggest supporters. They ended up in Tyrosh, the former home of Daemon's widow, Rohan, where Daemon's descendants and Aegor Rivers continued plotting. During the time of the First Blackfyre Rebellion, one of the sons of Daemon I Targaryen was known as Aegon I Blackfyre. Aegon I Blackfyre was the fourth son of Daemon I Blackfyre. He was the heir to his older brother, Daemon II Blackfyre. In history, after the Battle of the Red Grass Field and the failure of the First Blackfyre Rebellion, Aegon was taken to Tyrosh by his uncle, Bittersteal. In exile, he had at least 2 sons, the eldest of which he named Daemon. In 219 AC, Aegon launched the Third Blackfyre Rebellion, which ended in failure. He was slain treacherously after he gave up his sword. Meanwhile, a discovery was made of a certain redundancy. If he's only had 2 sons, why would the word end in sons mean more than one after the firstborn? Therefore, in theory, though it cannot be proven, that he actually had a 3rd son. Daemon III Blackfyre. Daemon III Blackfyre was the oldest son of Aegon I Blackfyre and a Tyrosh woman. In history, for his youth, born in exile, Daemon was the eldest son of Aegon, who was the 4th son of Daemon I Blackfyre. In the 4th Blackfyre Rebellion, following the death of his father Aegon and the escape of House Blackfyre's greatest supporter, Aegor Rivers, Daemon was crowned king by Aegor, who was called Bittersteal. He led the 4th Blackfyre Rebellion together with Bittersteal, and the Golden Company landed on Macy's Hook. Few rallied to Daemon's banners. However, King Aegon V Targaryen rode out to meet him, with his 3 sons by his side. Eventually, in the Battle of Wendwater Bridge, Daemon was slain by Sir Duncan the Tall of the King's Guard, and the Blackfyres suffered a shattering defeat. Little is known about the Tyrosh woman who Aegon I Blackfyre Targaryen married, other than that she could be a type of traitor. Not traitor like one she betrays people, but one who does imports and export goods. And so therefore, in theory, this would have been her appearance. She would have been the mother of Daemon III Targaryen of Blackfyre. And then there are 2 sons whose names remain protected. Again, in theory, a discovery made that he may have had a 3rd son because it ends in a plural S, another redundancy. The 2nd son is of Targaryen and Tyrosh descent. And it's seen here with quite the fierce warrior in the Tyrosh. Anyone who dared to cross the path or seek them out for extermination would have to deal with him, and his thrust was quite accurate and on the mark. The next one was another one whose name was protected. He also was a knight in Tyrosh, being both Targaryen and Tyrosh. He sported the red cape with a single golden dragon. He was quite the expert with the sword, and gave much of his support and skills to that of those who wore golden masks, because they wished to have the wealth and the power, but needed slaves to build their great pyramids. Aegor Targaryen, son of Daemon I Blackfyre and Daena Targaryen. Baelor Targaryen, Prince Baelor Targaryen, known as the Younger Prince, was the eldest son of Aegor Rivers-Bittersteal, Prince of Dragonstone, and Lady Daena Targaryen. In appearance, Baelor looked much like his father Baelor, though he was smaller and thinner. He had brown hair, with a streak of silver gold running through it, and he had blue eyes. In history, Prince Baelor was born the eldest son of Prince Baelor Targaryen and his wife, Lady Daena Targaryen. He had one younger brother, Prince Nectaries. At some point, Baelor was married to Kiera of Tyrosh. He had sons, but all were stillborn. Ashford returned. In 209 AC, Blair was one of the original champions for the daughter of Lord Ashford at the start of the tourney on Ashford Meadow. But his status as a Targaryen prince, grandson of King Daemon II Targaryen, the future heir to the Iron Throne, prevented him from facing dangerous opponents. He won at least 9 jousts, including against Sir Aegor Hightower and Lord Daemon Swan, and remained a champion after the first day's jousting. During Sir Duncan Mattal's trial of 7, Baelor's father, Prince Baelor's Breakspear, took part as the 7th knight on Dunk's side. However, as Baelor had not expected to fight in the tourney, he had not brought any armor to Ashford with him. Therefore, he borrowed Baelor's armor, causing Dunk to briefly believe Baelor was about to champion him. Baelor died in the trial, and Baelor stood vigil by his body at the funeral. When Dunk tried to offer his sympathy, Baelor dismissed him. In death, Baelor died in 209 AC from the Great Spring Sickness, as did his younger brother Marries, and their grandfather, King Daemon II Targaryen. In 211 AC, Duncan and Prince Aegon Targaryen heard a septon in Stony Sound preach that the hand of the king, Brynden Rivers, had killed Baelor's sons in their mother's womb, and suggest that Brynden was responsible for Baelor's death. The septon was later beheaded for speaking treason. This, of course, is the family history genealogy of Baelor Targaryen. Marries Targaryen. Marries Targaryen, called the even younger prince by a fool, was the second son of Prince Baelor Targaryen and Lady Daena Targaryen. In history, the second son of King Daemon II Targaryen's heir, Marries was in line for the Iron Throne. However, after his father, Baelor, had died in 209 BC during the Ashford tourney, the Great Spring Sickness struck Westeros. Marries died from the illness, This ended the line of Prince Baelor and led to the ascent of King Aegon I Targaryen. Stay tuned now for Blackfyre Rebellion number 2. After the First Blackfyre Rebellion, it was almost forgotten until about sometime late in the afternoon. The secret mission was completed, and the 2 specially selected Knights of the King's Guard made their way back into Westeros. As they made their way to the King's Landing, to the Red Keep, they waited for the time to state the results of their top secret consensus that King Daemon II had sent them on. So then, once he finishes business with, as usual, and clears the throne room, the King's Guard that were assigned this task finally make their way into the throne room. The first thing that he addresses is the results as to whether there is going to be any more bastards born. The good news that they report is that none of the 900, which turned out to be actually over 900, were found to be with child. This takes a sigh of relief on Daemon II, because one can imagine that as much as they had to trifle with Daemon II Blackfyre, one could only fear that each bastard having about 10,000 men, and though I be a palace historian, you can do the math. 910,000 each would totally devastate and wipe out the House of Targaryen. So there's nothing to worry about at this point. The second thing they report is that the women have agreed to make a choice rather than lose their heads. And then, since the King Daemon II had stated that any decision they use to, as a tactic to silence the women, the paramours and the whores that shared their time with former King Aegon IV, he would approve. Thus he agrees, because they are reminding him of what he had stated. They decided it would be a bit much to spill that much blood on anyone's hands. So therefore they opted to make an offer of 100 gold per head, and that if the women didn't choose the right choice, then they might even at least lose their tongues. However, the women did choose wisely and decided it would best not only keep their head, but their tongues as well. So they accepted the gracious offer and vowed never to speak of the incident with former King Aegon IV, of having shared their time with him, and that they do trust they will keep to their word. This now being of great news, Daemon II is well pleased that this bad black tarnishment of the good name of House of Targaryen is now finally swept under the rug and never to be spoken of again. At the same time, Daemon approves of their tactics to silence the women, and demonstrates this of how well pleased he is by giving them not only their standard pay, but twice over as a bonus their pay for that particular time, for not only handling this delicate royal political situation quietly, but accomplishing the mission. They are well pleased with the king's decisions because now they will have quite the coin to spend. On top of that, he also answers their question about a rumor of a war that had broke out, and he informs them that if he speaks to the men that they work with, both commanders and those that they are in command of, they will learn of a war that had broken out. It was quite the lengthy war and quite bloody, but that victory remained with the House of Targaryen. They accept this and are eager to find out what had happened in their absence. They also accept the coin and bonus that he gives them, and as a final reward, he reminds them that they as well cannot speak about this amongst themselves or with the men who they are in command with. They agree to this, and he gives them their final reward of a long, well-earned 3 days off. They humbly bow before the king, because the king knows if he makes them happy, they will continue to serve him well also, and they leave the throne room with big smiles on their face because this strenuous task, though top secret, has earned them a good sized pouch of coin. And so nothing ever is spoken of again about former King Aegon IV's love to 900 women. As William finished learning about the First Blackfyre Rebellion, he came to realize that it was just about as bad, though not worse, as the Dance of the Dragon's First Great War. So, any thoughts, William? Well, I guess it doesn't pay to be treacherous within the House of Targaryen either. No, it does not. That would make one a traitor. I agree. So, but now, if I'm understanding correctly, this is not the end of the Blackfyre Rebellion. No, unfortunately, William. Um, it's gonna have at least 3 or 4 more rebellions, but they won't be as arduous and lengthy as the first one was. The first one was the toughest one. They just simply don't have the spirit of the Black Dragon within them, because they are merely sons of the bastard of former King Aegon IV. Do you understand? Yes, the marries. Um, so then that means there's going to be 4 more battles coming up. Yes, unfortunately. The spirit of the dragon that they had within them are almost like the one that I had woken in you. Remember, you named your dragon Dragonsphere, from the dark blue star that shines brightly in the Valerian night sky. Yes, I do remember this. Fond memories. She has a smile about this. But I assure you, Daenerys, that though I have named the dragon spirit you have woken in me, I would swear on my life that I would never act so treacherously to you. Yes, William, I do know this, or you wouldn't be sitting here now, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. No, I actually like my head where it's at. She kind of laughs a little bit about this. Yes, I think I like it where it's at too. And as I said, you are a great treasure for me, because never have we had a human in my world before, an actual one. We always thought we were human. But that's okay. I think we need to take a break now. Yes, my queen Daenerys, I think a break would be good. And so with that, they leave the um, library of the Targaryen Hall of Genealogical Records, past the staircase of the other library, and to enjoy a cool breeze of the outside palace terrace.